In a little over 8 hours, maybe a little after that, it'll be Game 5 between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. It starts tonight, late game, probably going to end tomorrow. Either way, though, this could be it for the Wolves. Maybe. They need one more win, but they got to do it without a couple of key players, in Anthony Edwards and Donte DiVincenzo. So joining us now from 5,280 feet above sea level is Chris Hine, writer for the Minnesota Star Tribune. 'Tis the season, Chris, where you rack up those frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, it is. And there'll at least be another set of flights after this, because either this series is going 7 or they're going to be going likely to San Antonio for round 2. So we'll see how this week plays out. Obviously, there's a lot of storylines right now up in the air.
A lot of them. And the big storylines from the game Saturday night is losing Anthony Edwards and Donte DiVincenzo. And with Donte's injury coming early, it's the tale of two injuries here, in that you hardly notice Donte getting hurt, but that's the one that's going to keep you out a long time. Ants was tough to watch, but now they're saying that could be just weeks.
Yeah, week to week is probably the best way to phrase it. I think Ant's injury, from everything that I've heard, is very much kind of a wait and see kind of thing. He's going to need rest. The swelling in his knee is going to have to go down. He hyperextended it and has a bone bruise in it. So they have to wait for the swelling to go down and just see how he progresses as time goes on. They don't really want to put a firm timestamp on return time frame, because it could go either way. Maybe he returns quickly, maybe it takes some additional time. It's just very hard to tell with this particular injury. Ant has traditionally been a fast healer in his career, and he can play through pain. But again, it's just very hard to figure out when that might be that he's able to go again.
Yeah, and of course, then with Donte, again, you snap an Achilles, and I mean, in your experience covering sports, you know that those could be a long time. I mean, what kind of time frame are we potentially looking at here? I know he had surgery, I believe, yesterday that you wrote. What happens
Yes.
now?
So Achilles injuries tend to be about a year or so. So I think when you see an Achilles injury, his season is obviously done now. You hope that at some point his recovery goes well enough, smooth enough, quick enough that he's able to, maybe towards the tail end of next season, get back out there. Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics is a recent example of this, and he was able to return this season after tearing his Achilles in last year's playoffs. So if there's kind of a model for Donte to look at and hope for his own recovery, it's going to be Jason Tatum. And I saw that somebody asked Tatum after their game yesterday, and he said he's going to be reaching out to Donte to give him some advice on his recovery process, and because it's also a mental battle as well as a physical battle, these long-term injuries that can, not just threaten your immediate playing days, but your career long-term.
So we played essentially, or the Wolves played essentially the entire game without Donte, more than half the game without Ant. How did they respond to that? I mean, what did they do right, missing those two key players?
Defense. It all boils down to defense. This team can still, with the personnel that it has remaining, can still play defense at a very high level, and that's what ultimately won them the game. They shut Denver down late in that third quarter and into the fourth quarter. Nikola Jokic again struggled to score. Jamal Murray struggled to score. Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels have done a great job on those two guys and limiting them and frustrating them. And that's why the Wolves are in the driver's seat in this series, even with the injuries the other night. If they continue to defend, and their numbers without Ant this season would suggest that they can continue to defend at a high level, they can still win this series. They got to get one of 3 games, and then you hope that Ant, heals on the faster end of that time frame that I was talking about before. And that's kind of the formula, and that's the hope, and that's the motivation for them right now, is that their season is not over. Anthony Edwards could return. So you have to keep clinging to that hope, I think, if you're the Wolves, stay motivated to close out this series and see what happens after that.
Okay, before we talk again about the strategy tonight and what you expect, we got to talk about the end of the game Saturday night. A little bit of a scrum going on there with Nikola Jokic and was it Randall involved in that?
Daniels and Randall, everybody kind of got involved in that.
Yeah. What's your view of how that playing out? I know that they say it's an unwritten rule that, you got a few seconds, everyone stop playing, and Jaden goes up and puts another couple points in. What's your view on how all that went down?
I don't think it had to be as big of a deal as it turned out to be. Guys in the NBA do this kind of stuff all the time. Jaden McDaniels has done it before. I don't think it's quite worth getting that worked up over to the point of a scrum breaking out or charging down the floor. Personally, if you want to say something to somebody like in passing or on the floor, the next time, I think, that sure, go ahead. But I don't think it was worth the escalation that we saw over, these silly unwritten rules. Baseball has more unwritten rules than any sport, and it's always laughable to me when guys really get upset over them. And this, I guess, is basketball's version of that.
Yeah.
I just think it's not worth the energy you spend getting worked up over it.
Yeah, they see it as poor sportsmanship, but in the end, it didn't matter one way or the other. I mean, the game was won, whether he put that in or didn't, and he just decided to do it, so it didn't have any effect on anything except emotions there. How does that impact going into tonight's game in Denver, and what do you expect? How do you expect the Nuggets to react to the way things played out, both with that and on the court coming into tonight's game?
I'm sure the crowd's going to be amped up, and I'm sure every time Jaden McDaniels touches the ball tonight, they're going to boo. And so you have to know that going into the night, Jaden has to be prepared for it. Maybe it'll motivate him. Maybe it'll fuel him. We shall see. But honestly, I don't think that is going to have a big impact on Denver. If you can't get up after a player calls half your team out by name and calls them bad defenders, then I don't know that what happened at the end of Game 4 is any worse than that, or any better in terms of the quote unquote bulletin board material. So I don't expect that to have too much of an impact. I just think it's just another sort of moment in a very heated, tense matchup and rivalry that has developed over the last 4 seasons between these two teams. It's just kind of another bullet point, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's what this series and this matchup has become. It's become one fueled by mutual hatred.
Does that make it hard to predict what could happen game to game? I mean, going into a game tonight where the Wolves could, clinch it now to go to the next round. I mean, do you expect tight games here? Do you expect, that it could go either way we saw a big winning margin in the first game at Target Center. I mean, how do you even put your mindset into what to expect between these two teams?
I don't. I honestly, I think you're right that it does kind of throw the emotion or the ability to predict what's going to happen game to game out the window. I think one thing it does for the Wolves is this is a team that has struggled with intensity and getting up emotionally on a night-to-night basis during the regular season. And I think playing Denver in this first round has cured a lot of those issues for them, that they don't have as much of a problem getting motivated to play right from the jump every night in this series, except for game 1. Mm-hmm. So I think that's helped them, and I think it's helped them on the defensive end of the floor in particular. Now I think schematically and structurally, without Donte, without Ant, they're going to have to figure some things out on the offensive end of the floor, especially in late game situations. But in terms of the overall juice that they have the rest of this series, that's not going to be lacking. And as for Denver, I fully expect Jokic to try to take over tonight. And he was at various times in game 3 and 4 making a concerted effort to try to impose his will. He just was unsuccessful. Rudy Gobert stonewalled him. So if Rudy Gobert can keep that up, the Wolves have a good chance of winning this series.
All right. Well, look forward to watching tonight. It'll be a late night for you, although you're in a different time zone, but still. And at altitude as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Chris Hine.
Got to stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated out there. Appreciate it. Chris Hine with the Minnesota Star Tribune, the Wolves beat writer. Thanks for joining us throughout this series, and hopefully we'll hear a lot more from you in the weeks to come.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We'll see you later. We got a